I just try to use that intersectionality to really be as empathetic as possible, and like through the empathy generate communication. I don't really think I walk around, so white privilege is complicated for me because like my dad is white, right? And like a lot of me has like I have whiteness in me and my life, but like I am not perceived as white very often. It has happened to me once. Somebody said to me, "You're pretty fly for a white guy," and I was like, "Excuse me, I'm Korean." But for the most part, in like 99% of my life, I do not walk the world as a white person. You know what I mean? Like people perceive me as not white. So, and white privilege, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know and understand, white privilege is about like what people perceive you as and the privilege that you get when you like walk through the world as a white person, right? That's not to say that I don't have privilege. I definitely have privilege in this world, especially like coming from a white half of family, but I don't think I walk the world with, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so just wanted to say that, but like beyond that, sort of navigating the conjunction of like you know, having a white side of my family and having a more marginalized side of my family, I think like I try to use that in a way to sort of bridge that gap and be as much of sort of, I don't know, of like a mix as I can. And I guess like one of the things I realize is like between marginalized communities and sort of like the white cis heteronormative straight community, cisgender straight, all those kinds of things, like there's often like a gap, like a wall, because people like don't want to communicate and they kind of butt heads. And I think because I come from whiteness and because I do come from like a cisgender straight white dad, like I have a sort of a sight into like his experience, right? And that allows me to understand a little bit more and like bring those experiences together so that I don't like come to the conversations like with not understanding people, and also not like sometimes I think that ignorance can actually halt conversation. Does that make sense? Also, people like to say things like, "Oh, like, are you more Korean or more white? Like, and I'm like, no, I'm like 100% Korean and 100% white. Like, it's not even like a 50-50 kind of thing, at least the way I see it, because like, I'm not white and I'm not Korean. I am white and I am Korean. Like, does that make sense? Like, it's so much more like a combination than it is like two separate identities that like exist within me. Like, I'm not half of a person.
And I noticed that's definitely something that people like to do. They're like, I'm 50% this, I'm 50% this, but it's like, it's not a lot of like, this is what those mixed identities make, which is myself. And like,
right. And I think that's one of the things that I try to really bring to the table, and just in terms of any intersectionality, because I am like very intersectional in a lot of ways. Like I'm not a woman, but I like lived womanhood for 4 or 5 years, like very, very prominently. And then for my whole life, I thought I was a woman until I was 18, you know, like, or I thought I was supposed to be a woman. And so like, there's that womanhood that I can sort of tap into. There's manhood that I live now. There's like a lot of people, I mean, I walked the world as a gay woman for a while. Like that's how people perceived me and how I, you know, thought I saw myself. Like there's a lot of different ways that those identities would necessarily aren't like all mine, but like I lived experiences that I'm allowed, or that allow me to bring sort of those sides of things to a conversation.